Okay, another free day. Yay me. Okay, so our options are Adine, Bryce and Remy. Adine seems to be the person that we're hanging out with the most. So we're gonna go with Adine. Ding dong. That must be her. Hey, what's up? Are you ready to go? Sure am. I can't wait to see everything the festival has to offer. That's it, we're off to the festival. Sorry if it came across that way, but I don't think we'll have much time to take part in the festivities. Oh yeah. I've got to spend most of my time at the competition grounds. We'll arrive there early so I can check in and do my warm-up. And I have to stick around after my performance and wait for the award ceremony. That's presumptuous. You think you're going to win? Well, I guess you don't have to wait with me. If you could see the rest of the festival if you wanted to. Out of the question. I'm here to spend time with you. The festival is not that important. Besides, we can always see everything on one of the other festival days. Okay. We could even watch the big fireworks show at the end. Yeah, I've heard about that. Everyone keeps telling me how important it is for me to see. It's not that important, but if you have the opportunity, you really should go. I'm not sure if I'll be able to attend, but I'll gladly accompany you if I get the chance. Sure, today's agenda is emotional support, and next time we can take in all the aspects of the festival. Does that sound good? Perfect. Alright, let's go. Okay, it took us a while for us to arrive at the festival, which had already begun by this point. It's an empty street. What kind of festival is this? The last of the booths that lined the way were still being set up, but dragons of all shapes and sizes were already pouring in. Instead of walking directly through the festival, we stayed outside the established paths, heading toward the stage where the competition was going to be held. Eventually, we arrived at a rather large open-air area near the facility that had been roped off. At one corner of the building, a few flyers had already gathered. Maybe you should wait here while I get my number. Why? People might get the wrong idea if you showed up in the registration line. Yeah, I can't fly. Besides, they certainly stare and start asking all kinds of questions. Alright, I'll stay here. I'll be right back. After Adine had waddled off to the other flyers, I surveyed my surroundings idly. Beyond the big open air area, seating had also been provided, and I could already see a few people waiting for the competition to start. A few had even gathered on the roof of the building to watch from there. Yeah, is that your number? What's she got? Got a large number printed on it. A few of the straps were hanging from it. What you got? What's this? This is Wing Flaps' number. Yeah, sorry for the mistake. I'm one of the last. Are we late? No, I guess the others just arrived earlier to have more time to get ready. What do you think about the other competitors? I've seen most of them fly before. Some are really, really good. It doesn't seem like there are many newcomers though, so right now I'm the odd one out. Maybe you could use that to your advantage. How so? Well, you know more about them than they do about you. Having a promising newcomer there might throw them off their game. I'm not so sure about that. After all, it's not like any of our already choreographed performances would change based on what the others do now. Each of us just tries to do their best. Most of them are seasoned flyers, so they already know how to deal with that kind of pressure. If anything, I'm the one who might get nervous and mess up. I do have one advantage though, I'm still pretty young, and this is a sport with a great amount of wear and tear. There comes a certain point in time when you just can't perform as well anymore as you used to. I don't know about that. If you're older, you've got technique, and if you're younger, you've got strength. It kind of balances out a bit. Many complicated manoeuvres can only be performed by younger athletes. The older ones can make up for their experience, and with better execution of easier moves. In the end, a daring newcomer like me could surprise the audiences and judges with something new and unexpected, which is exactly what I plan to do. How good do you think your chances are? With a bit of luck, I might even be able to win. It's just a local competition after all. But you know what? Just being here right now and performing in front of so many people is a win for me. People will know me and I'll probably get a mention somewhere in the local paper. I've trained for years and my application to complete finally got accepted. Now I just have to make the most of it and I'll be happy. I can still hardly believe that I'm here. This is the moment I've worked so hard for. I'll be watching. You're making me nervous. Alright. Can you help me with this? She's spread out her wing. Only then did I notice that her shoulder joint was tightly bandaged. What's that? Just the training bandages to stabilise my shoulder after that blunder you witnessed last time. We can't fly with these in the competition though, so I'll have to take it off. You still hurt though? I opened the bandage, carefully unwrapping her wing. Done. She spread both of her wings, beating them a few times. I couldn't help noticing that the previously bandaged wing was sagging noticeably compared to its counterpart, as if it were misaligned. She seemed to be examining her shoulder, somewhat lost in thought when I spoke up. Is that shit dislocated? Are you sure you want to do this? Yeah, why wouldn't I? I can see you're straining even without the bandage. I'm fine, really. Don't worry about it. If you're fine without the bandage, how come you're wearing it up to just now? Do you need it for practice too? If you couldn't practice without it, maybe you aren't ready to compete without it yet. Since when are you suddenly an expert on flying? I'm the one who's been doing this for years, not you. This is my dream. Or if your dream costs you like a lifetime of flying, it might be a stupid thing to do. Do you want them to see you in this condition and judge you based on that rather than when you're at your best? I just gotta try, you know. What if something goes wrong though? You don't want to be in that position. If I start making excuses now, maybe I'll never stop. I'll always be too nervous or too injured, or I didn't eat right the day before. I feel bad enough as it is. Right now, I have the chance to do this, and if I don't take it, maybe I never will. I'll always just be a server and the delivery girl making minimum wage. Is this one chance really too much to ask for? No, but it doesn't have to be right now. There'll always be another year. Unless the world gets blown up by the comet. They've never seen you compete before. If you fly now, they'll judge you based on this performance. And you only get one chance at making a first impression. And you know it won't be your best if you fly right now. If it's not good enough, maybe they won't invite you again next year. If you fly now, they won't accept any excuses. But if you tell them you're injured, they might let you fly another time. But I don't want to wait another year. I want to do it now. I trained so much, even with this injury, and you telling me to just let it go? I just can't help thinking about last time. If you crash like that again, there's no sand here to cushion your fall. It could be much worse. You think I don't know that? That I'm not already worried about this more than I ever have for anything else. I just don't want to make excuses anymore. I don't want to wonder if I'll ever amount to anything more than a waitress. I want to be able to follow my dream, and I don't want to wait another year to find out. What about Emily? If something happened to you, how do you think that would explain to her that you suddenly just stopped showing up? Don't you dare bring her into this, she got nothing to do with it. Like it or not, what you're doing could have consequences, and there are others beside you who will be affected if something goes wrong. Wow, we're laying into her thick. You know what? I will fly and do the best damn job I've ever done. There's nothing you can do to stop me. Before I could reply, she angrily stomped off toward the building, where by now a number of contestants had arrived. While I'd failed to convince her, the least I could say as I tried my hardest to stop her. Wow, you're really mean to her actually. I asked myself whether I even wanted to watch the competition at this point. It was possible that she'd do even better than expected, but if my experience was any indication, her performance would not turn out well. In the end, I decided to stay and watch from the sidelines. I didn't want to join the rest of the audience as I was sure it would give me unwanted attention. After the competition started, I lost myself in thought, thinking over the conversation I had with Adine while watching her and the other contestants half-heartedly. Adine had been right, some of them were very good, but based on what I'd seen at her practice session, she did have a shot at winning if everything went well for her. Even though my rational mind doubted that would happen, for her own sake, I hoped it would. One by one, the contestants showed off their skills in a variety of moves, usually followed by the applause of the audience. Eventually, it was Adine's turn. Next on stage is number 11, a promising newcomer who will show her skills to the public here for the very first time in her debut performance. Please welcome Wing Flaps. There was an excited bout of clapping. The audience was always curious to see a newcomer on stage. However, after a few seconds passed, Adine still hadn't emerged. An awkward silence set in as the audience applause stopped and everyone sat anxiously, waiting for her to show up. She never did. After half a minute or so had passed, the announcer's voice once more echoed across the area. My apologies, she's not flying today. Next up is 12, a veteran you may know for his somewhat unusual technique. Before I could even ask myself what had happened, I saw Adine walking out of the building and coming toward me. What happened? Let's go somewhere else, fine. What, you all kinds of busted up? We walked away from the festival and sat down under a tree in the outskirts of town. As the competition was already nearly over, the darkness had already set in. Here's good, alright. What made you reconsider? You were right with everything you said. When I was inside and had a bit more time to cool off, I realised I didn't want to do it like this, even if I had to wait another year. How you feeling? I know it was the right thing to do, but I can't help thinking that I came so close, that I could have done it if it hadn't been for that stupid accident. You got another chance, I promise. Don't make promises you can't keep. Okay, fair. Yo, look at the sky. Can you see that light? The one that looks a bit brighter than all the others. That's not the comet, is it? Oh. I looked up and saw many celestial bodies lighting up the sky. One of them is noticeably brighter than all the other stars. Yeah, I see it. I usually practice in the evening and stay till it's dark, so I see the stars pretty often. I noticed something about that one. It moves. How does it move? It looks pretty stationary to me. You wouldn't notice it just by looking at it, but over the last couple of weeks I've noticed that it's changed positions when comparing it to other stars. It can't be a star then. Stars don't move. They have an office in one of the cities that watches these kinds of things. I called them about it a while ago. And what did they say? It's just an asteroid passing by. It's even been on the news a few times. That makes it sound pretty important. Spoilers. Yeah, it's a big one, apparently, otherwise we wouldn't even be able to see it without a telescope. Do they think it's dangerous? Why would it be? I don't know. It could hit the moon or some shit, you know, maybe. They assured me that's not going to happen. They say calculating the paths of celestial bodies is a very complicated science, and it's not really an exact one. They know it's not going to hit the moon, but they're watching it to make sure it passes safely. Not that just watching it would make a difference. Well, they don't really know anything more. Apparently, they're also really underfunded. The council doesn't see the need to waste people's time and money to look into sky all day. That's strange, don't you think? It used to be a pretty important job, but over time the funding got less and less until only this token office in our biggest city was left. I see. Such a shame, since the whole institution was based on our creation story. In what way is that? In one of the stories, our creator told us to watch the skies. How religious are you, really? What do you mean? Well, dragons have these myths about humans. How many of them do you actually believe are true? I believe all of it. I just love reading all the stories, theories and all that. Are you a fundamentalist or something? Why? Well, I think there's a lot we can learn from it. Much of our society is based on it, including our laws and traditions. I see. Can I ask you a question? Shoot. What would you think if I told you that I'm a time traveller from the future? Wow. Subtle. Yo, don't joke about something like that. Why? Because I'd believe you. Well, yeah. Besides, if you're really a time traveller, I think you'd come from the past, like the time when we were created. Really? Why's that? Because that's the only time in our history where we know of humans ever being here. If you came from the future, that would mean humans were to show up at some point of our future history, and I'm not sure how or why that would happen. Yeah, it's getting really weird with the time travel thing. I'm from the future, am I? Enough so I've kind of rewritten the past? I don't know. Wouldn't that mean that I was your creator? No, that's the one in the mask. Not necessarily. There could have been other humans around, right? Your myths only mentioned one, though. Yeah, but people speculate, trying to find explanations for those old myths. Maybe there were more humans around, or they just died out. Or their creation rebelled and killed them. Others say they fled across the ocean. We just don't know. What do you think? I don't know. I like reading about all the theories and trying to piece together the puzzle together myself. That's why I wanted to visit the underground building we found. Some of the theories are quite out there. Okay, how out there? For example, one says that humans are really aliens who came from a different planet. They created us for some reason, and then just vanished again. Wow! You hit the hammer on the head, you're kind of like a bioweapon. Why would they do that? Maybe it's an experiment and they're testing us. Some say they're always watching us from up there somewhere, from a great giant mothership, and that maybe one day they'll return when we're ready to join them. You're getting a bit more off base now. Yeah, that is pretty out there. Told ya. What about the humanity you came from, though? Why don't you tell me more about your world? I don't like talking about it. It's prettier here. I don't believe you. It's the truth. I'll believe it when I see it with my own eyes. I'd love to visit your world. No, apocalyptic wastelands ain't a good place for a date. I don't think that's a good idea. Why? Do you know what our world is like? Are there any rumours about that? Not really. There hasn't been much speculation about that yet. Of course we're curious though. Next time, we want to send one of our ambassadors into your world. Make it even and all that. I'm not sure that's a good idea. Don't be negative. Sorry, it's not up to me to determine the best course of action. I'm just a lowly ambassador after all. Not quite as lowly as a waitress, with nothing more than high aspirations. Maybe it's time for me to go home. I'd walk you, but I guess you'd be faster if you flew. Nah, I'd rather not without the bandage. You serious? And you're gonna do your performance like that? Oh no, I shouldn't have tried. Don't bring it up again. For what it's worth, I think you made the right decision in the end. Cheers. Shall we go? Cool. Let's sit back at base. There we are. Do you want to come in for a bit? Be a shame for you to have come all this way for nothing. Sure. She opened the door, wiping her feet on the doormat before she went inside. Can I offer you something to drink, maybe? You want a coffee, Netflix and chill? No thanks, I'm good. How about some TV, Netflix and chill? That'd be interesting. I ain't watched TV in ages and I don't have one in the apartment. You're right, you got a pretty decent apartment, but they didn't provide a TV. Wonder why. Maybe they wanted to avoid a culture shock or something. You got a shelf full of books though. Why would the books be fine and not a TV? I suppose when they give me books, they know what I'm going to read. But on TV, they can't really regulate the content I'm going to see. At least if TV works the same way as ours used to. That's true. Maybe they just thought your time would be better spent elsewhere, like helping the police in a murder investigation. I guess, if they didn't want me to watch TV, they certainly never told me. Actually, there's a series on right now that could be pretty interesting for you. What you got? Well, I ain't going to tell you. Do you want me to put it on or not? Sure, let's watch TV. Okay. What have we got? Wait a bit. The camera cut to the inside of the home, while the chattering of small talk could be heard. Then some figures entered the living room on the screen. They were grotesque, malformed creatures with rather cartoony proportions, covered in odd lumps all over their body. They all shared the same odd skin tone. It was clear to me that these figures were played by actors in obviously fake bulky costumes that reminded me of mascots. What are those? Humans. That's the name of the series. It's a typical sitcom about a contemporary family as we would expect it, but with the twist that everyone is human. And then I realised why I hadn't been able to identify these creatures on the screen as humans. They were all naked. Since the dragon's concept of clothing was different, they had applied their own principles when creating the series. It was quite bizarre to see a typical family sitcom where all the characters were in obviously fake costumes and also happened to be naked. Do you like this one? One of my favourites. While it's a sitcom, it manages to address serious and deep issues fairly often, which I don't think would be as effective if we weren't watching them through the lens of this alternate reality. This one isn't a bad episode, but it's already nearly over. I guess there's no point watching just the ending. Okay. By this point the credits were already rolling, and she turned off the TV again. That was weird. What do you think? Let's just say if a human looked like that suddenly showed up in our world, people would probably run away screaming. They don't look that bad. Sure, it's impressive if we consider what they had to work with, but there's a few things they got wrong. Like what? For one, humans mostly wear clothing, and secondly, we don't have tails. Those are just small details. The series is still good though. Is it popular? For sure, many people love it. Let's see, hope they're not too scared of me after they see how different I am though. I didn't run away screaming when I first met you, did I? True. Now that you're already here, there's something you could help me with. What's that? It'd be a huge favour to ask and it's kind of embarrassing. Just say it, the worst I can do is say no. How should I say it? It's about my shower. What? I get pretty dirty from practice sometimes, especially from the bad landings, and recently the detachable shower head broke. That usually wouldn't be much of a problem, but with this injury I can't quite reach a few places on my own. Oh my god. It's already not ideal having to manage everything with my wings, but now it's even harder. You want me to scrub your back? I guess you could put it that way. I told you it's embarrassing. I'll do it. Don't worry about it. Happy to help. Cool, cheers pal. Let's go. Into the shower. I followed her, entering the rather large bathroom. This shower is huge. I wouldn't mind having one of these, probably like a wet room or something. This isn't just your regular dragon-sized shower, it's been made specifically for a flyer like me. We need enough room to stretch our wings. Just think of the possibilities. She took off her goggles and stepped into the roomy walk-in shower. After pressing a button on the wall, the water started flowing from the shower head mounted on the wall. She moved around a bit, stretching this way and that way in order to cover her whole body in the water. Soon afterwards, she pressed the button on the wall again, and the water flow stopped. She turned to show me her back, wings splayed. Oh, it's a sexy shower scene. Ah. Okay. Sure. Okay, the soap and sponge should be right there. I took a sponge that wasn't unlike the ones I knew from back home and added some soap from a rather big bowl. It seemed to me that each species had their own challenges that needed to be overcome when it came to daily tasks like this one, emphasised by all the different design choices when it came to everyday items. You can start with the wings and work your way down. Sure. I couldn't help making a joke to ease the tension a bit when I put the sponge on her muzzle. Oh my god, that's cringe. Alright, couldn't resist. Now I've got soap in my nose. That's gonna make your eyes water. I started scrubbing her wings. Now that I could see them up close and fully extended, I found them to be quite impressive. You know, I actually tried to do that before. What's that? Washing off the stripes. What, really? I was a child back then, and you know how kids are. They make fun of everything. Though, I didn't know human children are the same way. Yeah, don't give a shit about markings. That's just not cool, dude. Don't press too hard there. That's the injured shoulder. Alright, fair enough. Eventually, I reached her lower back, and while I was watching a particular spot on her left side, I could see her leg twitching slightly. Are you ticklish here? Oh my god, you noticed. What happens if I do this? Dude, boundaries. I repeated my ministrations, moving the sponge in circles over that particular spot. Stop that. She started squirming, and suddenly her tail whacked around and hit me in the face, causing me to stumble and fall over backwards. Serves you right. I guess I deserved that. Yeah, you tickle a dragon, you get the tail. The full tip of her tail was hovering inches in front of my face. Its peculiar shape reminded me of something. I couldn't help but grab it and hold it like a telephone. Oh my god, cringe, what are you doing? I think your phone's not working. Stop being a fucking idiot. Alright, I'm done. I resumed my scrubbing. By now, only her tail was left. Not being entirely sure about my technique, I moved the sponge over the tail's whole length in small circles. When I was nearly done, I noticed a low rumble emanating from her, reminding me of what an oversized cat's purr might sound like. Are you purring? Suddenly, her expression changed and she looked over her shoulder. Oh, are you done? You should take a step back if you don't want to get hit by the water. I was going to shake that off. After I left the shower again, she pressed the button on the wall, and the water resumed once more. She only stood under it briefly, and moved around a bit, until the water had completely washed off the suds. When she turned off the water again, I realised that it didn't cling to her all that much. After she shook herself for a bit, she stepped out again, nearly dry. Thanks, I needed that. No problem. That was really weird. It's probably getting late, and I already held you up for this long. No problem, but it's already dark outside. I guess that took longer than I thought. I'm not supposed to go outside this late. What, you on a curfew? I didn't know this. You're right, we were advised by the police to stay inside after nightfall because of everything that's going on. Oh yeah, you might get killed. For me, it's even more important. We don't know if there's anyone out there who might want to target me. I suppose you just gotta spend the night here then. I guess so.